When we argue about the greatest soccer players alive today, we usually bring receipts. We count goals, assists, expected threat, and pass completion percentages. But the ultimate currency in these debates is the Ballon d'Or. It is the definitive, undisputed hardware that proves you were the absolute best in the world for a given year. Off the pitch, greatness is measured in leverage. Today's superstars move freely between megaclubs in unrestricted free agency and negotiate massive cuts of global broadcast revenues, all of which makes the consensus around the king of soccer highly unusual. Pele is almost universally recognized as the greatest to ever play the sport. Yet, if you look at his trophy cabinet, you will find exactly 0 Ballon d'Ors, and he played his entire prime without the ability to choose his own employer. During his playing days in Brazil, athletes were treated legally as property. Under harsh contract laws, players were bound to their clubs indefinitely, with no mechanism to negotiate a fair market value or leave for a better offer. To understand Pele's actual impact, we have to throw out the modern scoreboard. His dominance wasn't built on satisfying today's metrics. He forced the sport's highest institutions, and his own country's legal system, to rewrite their history books and their laws just to keep up with him. On the field, the raw output is undeniable. Pele scored 77 international goals in 92 appearances. He remains the youngest player to score in a World Cup, and the only player in history to lift 3 World Cup trophies. Yet none of that earned him a Ballon d'Or, because he was legally disqualified from entering the conversation. Until 1995, the award was strictly for European players. By playing exclusively for Santos in Brazil, Pele was completely shut out of the sport's highest individual honor. That glaring omission sat on the record books for decades. Then, in 2016, the magazine that created the award, France Football, conducted an extensive historical audit to see what would have happened if the prize had been globally inclusive from the start. Looking at this timeline of official winners, the audit paints a stark picture. If eligible, Pele would have won the Ballon d'Or in 1958, 1959, 1960, 1961, 1963, 1964, and 1970, replacing legends like Lev Yashin and Gerd Müller 7 different times. No other athlete has ever prompted the curators of a sport to publicly admit their official history was this incomplete. They had to invent a retroactive timeline to properly quantify how far ahead of his peers he really was. Because the established European institutions had no category for him at the time, Pele ended up defining himself, and by extension, the entire aesthetic of the sport. We call soccer the beautiful game today as a reflex. That phrase traces back to the Portuguese term jogo